Hey everybody, it's Galmanex, and welcome back to the final Arena Cube draft before the return of Guilds of Ravnica drafts. So let's try and make this a good one. Let's try and go absolutely crazy and get a 7-win run here if we can. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not very impressed by our opening pack here in terms of cube packs. We've got a Young Pyromancer might be a good pick. That's something we could use in mono red or a multicolored spells deck, like a red blue or Boros, something like that. Verder's Gearhulk's a pretty powerful green card by itself. It's basically a 5-mana 8/8 with trample, so it's big, it's beefy, and you can put the counters wherever you want. And there's a little bit of a +1/+1 counter theme in the cube, as you can see with cards like Conclave Mentor. Obosh would be a fun first pick because we could try to do a companion deck with Obosh. I know that's something that people have actually done in this cube before, so that's definitely a choice. And then like Elvish Reclaimer's fine for the lands deck, and all these blue cards are pretty mediocre, but we could try to move into Flash with Brineborn Cutthroat. I kind of want to try using a companion in the cube. I've never done that before, so we might just be like a Rakdos sacrifice deck trying to make use of Obosh. That could be fun. We do see a Gutterbones here to go with the Rakdos sacrifice theme. There's also a Golos in here though, and Golos is a very, very good card, and 5-color cube decks can be quite powerful. There's also Rekindling Phoenix if I don't want to use Obosh's companion ability. Obviously, to use companion with Obosh, everything in our deck has to be an odd mana cost. Otherwise, we'll just put Obosh in with the rest of our main deck cards. So, pretty difficult pick here. There's also Tutelage if you want to jump on that mill train. I think I'm going to roll with Golos here. The absolute worst case scenario, if we do 100% stick with Obosh, we could still run Golos because Golos is an odd mana cost. It just wouldn't make the most sense because Obosh obviously wants to be a very aggressive deck with its ability to double damage. But I think I'm going to go with Golos here. I think it's just such a powerful card that it's going to be the pick for me personally out of that pack. Now we do have some powerful odd mana cost aggressive cards like Phoenix of Ash. When I say some, I mean literally one, just the Phoenix, but it's a pretty good card. 3 mana for a 2/2 flying haste. It's got Sword of Fire Breathing for 3 mana, and then you can bring it back from your grave later with that escape ability. That'll work great with Obosh, and nothing in these other colors is super awesome. Languish is pretty good. Board wipes can be really good if you want to build anything slower or more controlling. You definitely want to have a board wipe or two in your deck. They are necessary. There are some very powerful, aggressive, obviously red-based decks like Gruul and Boros that are available. What do we have now? Agadeem's Awakening would technically be an odd mana cost. If we're taking something multicolored here, it would just be like Vraska, which is not that great. It's not like one of the payoffs for like the 5-color kind of deck is what I mean there. Cruel Reality we could also play in Obosh. Nothing cheap for Obosh, I guess Reckless Rage. But we just have to like sacrifice a creature to kill something. That seems pretty bad. Unless you've got Feather already. That's the one card that combos well with it because Feather will repeatedly return this to your hand, basically giving you somewhat near like infinite removal. I'm going to take Agadeem's Awakening there. Just seems like it would go with Obosh. I feel like this companion ability is a lot harder to draft around than I assumed. Having only odd cards, I'm just noticing how many even mana cost cards are great, like this Direfleet Daredevil and stuff like that I'll just be passing up on. But I wanted to do something crazy, do something weird. I might just stick with it. If we're taking something to try to go 5-color with Golos, we're just going to take a land, or Finality seems good, just as a wrath effect. Kind of a slower one at 6 mana, but it could save one of your creatures. I think I'm going to roll with the Disfigure still. I'm not to the point where I'm ready to just completely right off Obosh. I think I'm still kind of trying. Stitcher Supplier and Call of the Death Dweller would both fit perfectly into Rakdos sacrifice shenanigans. We already have an Aghanim's Awakening to sort of bring stuff back, so I guess I'll grab the Stitcher Supplier to throw things in the grave. Vengeful Rebel is an odd mana cost, and these red cards aren't particularly great regardless. I guess Captivating Crew would work well in the strategy, being able to steal multiple creatures from your opponent and start sacrificing them. So that would be the best card for Rakdos Sacrifice, but Repeated Reverberation and Magmatic Channeler are not cards I'm super high on, especially not in Sacrifice, maybe in like blue-red spells or something. Foulmire Knight seems not bad. I like it more than Dualcaster Mage. Bomat Courier, though, is pretty great as well. It all depends how aggressive we end up being. So far, it's looking more like we're leaning towards potentially being more mid-range with stuff like Disfigure, Vengeful Rebel, and Stitcher Supplier. These are not the most aggressive cards ever. These three are only like really aggressive cards are Phoenix of Ash and Obosh. If we do end up really aggressive, Bomat Courier is definitely going to be better, but for the more mid-rangey build, I like the Foulmire Knight here, so I'm going to scoop that up. Now we can grab a Fatal Push as a decent removal spell that we can still have in our odd deck. We could also take Witch's Oven and try to get the cat. Yet again, I don't know if the cat is actually in the cube. So it is a sacrifice outlet, but you're just getting food out of it. That doesn't seem all that exciting to me. There's Gutter Bones still in there. That's a really good sign. We could also take Insult or Injury while still having only odd mana costs. I like Gutter Bones more, though. Let's get all these sacrificial synergies going, and Witch's Cauldron's fantastic here. That is a sacrifice outlet I'm more happy with than the Witch's Oven. This one does cost mana to sacrifice things, which is a little rough, but drawing a card is a much bigger upside than just gaining 3 life, like getting 1 food. The only odd mana cost here is Reckless Rage, but I don't even really want to play that. So Cruel Celebrant, if we could end up having to move into like Orzhov Aristocrats, start getting some life drain out of everything we're sacrificing. And then I don't really want to play the Labyrinth, so I guess I'll grab another even mana cost here. All right, we'll see what we open up in pack 2. We did open up Niv Mizzet, and we already have a Golos. However, I think moving into that strategy at this point seems extra bold. Like extra sketchy, especially when we have a card that's going to be great regardless. Bone Crusher Giant. That'll be fantastic in Obosh. And just in Rakdos in general. I think if Bone Crusher Giant wasn't here, I'd probably take Niv Mizzet, or I might lean towards Inscription of Ruin, but those are really the 3 cards here that I'm really excited about. Karn's pretty great too, but Karn's also an even mana cost. Could you imagine if we end up in 5-color Niv Mizzet with Obosh as a companion? Like 5-color, all odd mana costs? That would be absolutely nuts. I highly doubt that would ever happen. There's also like Phylath here. There's just great stuff for the 5-color lands kind of decks. I do not expect those to wheel. I think somebody's going to hop right in there. All right, Gray Merchant of Asphodel. We do seem pretty heavily black, so this could drain a lot of life from our opponent with its Devotion ability. There's also Claim the Firstborn, and we do have a Witch's Cauldron now, so we are starting to pick up the sacrifice outlets. I think we currently just have that one, but if we can reliably sacrifice things, Claim the Firstborn is actually pretty alright. I feel like we saw Gutter Bones like really late in the last pack, so I think we should probably be able to take Gray Merchant and wheel Claim the Firstborn. I feel like Claim the Firstborn is more of a specific card than Gray Merchant is. Most a lot of black decks would like Gray Merchant, whereas Claim the Firstborn, it's really only the sacrifice decks that really want it. Like, I've played several very aggressive red decks that didn't even use this card, so hopefully anybody playing those kind of decks is just going to pick up Lava Runner or Experimental Frenzy first, and Firstborn will wheel for us. We'll see. We'll certainly see. Oh, wow. Multiple different great payoffs for this sort of deck here. Judith the Scourge Diva. 3 mana for a 2/2. All of our other creatures get +1/+0, and whenever our non-token creatures die, we get to do 1 damage to any target, so she's great with sacrificing stuff, but so is Ayara. Ayara is a sacrifice outlet. She can sacrifice black creatures to draw a card, and whenever any of our black creatures enter the battlefield, each opponent loses life and you gain a life. And this combos really well with the Gray Merchant by just having a lot of black devotion. I'm gonna roll with the Judith. It would be incredible if Ayara wheels. I'd be very excited about that, and I don't think it's impossible. I don't think that at least I personally have not had a lot of success with mono black or heavily black decks. So if other players are having a similar experience to me, they might be just put off from that color just in general. I'm going to scoop up an Active Treason here to go with Witch's Cauldron and hopefully more sacrifice outlets. Doesn't look like there's any more sacrifice outlets here. There's Perilous Vault, which is a wrath effect no matter what colors you're in. So that's a good card. You could just scoop that up. I kind of like staying thematic here with the Active Treason. And Perilous Vault also is an even mana cost, so we wouldn't be able to Obosh with it. I think the strongest card in this pack, if you look at just all of the colors, would be Torrential Gearhulk, but that's pretty far from what we're doing. Rimrock Knight is unfortunately an even mana cost, as is Gonti. Oh no, everything's an even mana cost here. I guess the Sigiled Sword of Valeron is an odd mana cost, and the card's pretty decent. It's going to spit out knights whenever we attack with an equipped creature. Costs a lot of mana, 3 mana to put it out, and then 3 more mana to equip it, so we're basically taking 2 turns off to get this equipped to something, and that can be a hefty price in terms of the tempo we spend on that, so I'm kind of tempted to still just take Gonti, in case we don't end up doing the Obosh thing. I think I'm going to do that. Can pass up on that Sigiled Sword for now. There's really nothing here. I guess we're taking a Hellhound. Slaughter Priest. That's an even mana cost. Could play Veto. And we have a little bit of life gain with Gray Merchant, Witch's Cauldron. We might have a little bit more lifelink in black. This could be okay. The only odd cards here are Animation Module and Cultivator's Caravan. Neither of those seem particularly good for this sort of strategy. I think Nightmare Shepherd's going to be the strongest card, but Dusk Legion Zealot is a close second. It's quite good in these strategies where you want just a bunch of little creatures to sacrifice and chump block with. Oh my god. What? Niv Mizzet and Phylath wield? Oh no. Probably should have just jumped ship and went for that, but we're going for something even dumber now. We're going to try to do Veto, Thorn of the Duskrose with Exquisite Blood on the field for the instant win combo. Unlikely to happen, but who knows. Oh, and here's the pack where I wanted Claim the Firstborn. Somebody took Claim the Firstborn over Experimental Frenzy or Get to Lava Runner. That is incredibly weird to me. Incredibly strange to me. Unless they're literally also in a red-black sacrifice deck, in which case that is certainly sad for both of us. Oh, I don't want any of this. Nor do I want any of this, but I'll take Command the Dreadhorde, because I don't know, it's the coolest. It's the nearest to our colors. So if I cut out all of our even mana costs... Actually, does Integrity Intervention count as a 5 CMC? This might be castable, or this might be runnable with Obosh. I'm not sure. I'll keep it in at the 1-drop slot just in case. Hey, and now we've got a red-white dual land. So we could literally just play a red-black deck with a single Inspiring Vantage. and use that to splash an intervention if we can run that in Obosh. Okay. Goblin Chain Whirler, Scorch Spitter, Sweltering Suns. These are the odd mana cost cards in our colors. Kind of want to scoop up the Chain Whirler. That is a real difficult mana cost for a 2-color deck, though. And we seem to be heavier into black than we are red. And somebody took Ayara, though, so we might move into more red in this pack. We'll see. Yeah, I don't really like the requiring triple red in a 2-color deck here. That just seems like a bit much. I think we got to roll with Scorch Spitter, and Scorch Spitter is quite good with Obosh because it doubles up the damage that it deals when it attacks and when it does combat damage. Oh, Embercleave is an even mana cost? You gotta be kidding me with this stuff. How does anybody run Obosh? I don't remember who it was. I think it was like Brian David Marshall or somebody who was like talking about how they ran Obosh in Cube like multiple times. I'm like, what? But here I am. Here I am on that shenanigans trying it out. And it is a difficult time right now. Tibalt gives us multiple little tokens to sacrifice. That seems all right. Castle Embereth is definitely not going to wheel, and it's a good land. I think I'll take the Tibalt here.
Imbeciles.
That was a nice quote. So there's never to return. Again, don't know how the CMC works on these. Is the CMC 7? If so, I can play this. Thoughtseize all right. Thoughtseize is fun. I mean, not for our opponent, but for us, it's nice to just see what they got and try to dismantle it. I think I'm going to take Never to Return here and really hope that counts as an odd mana cost. I have no idea what... I can't see how this could possibly count as an even mana cost. The only way it would count as an even mana cost is if it's just literally looking at returns cost only. That would be dumb. All right, Captain Lannery Storm is pretty great, as is Chandra. Giving us multiple little tokens. Gravebreaker Lamia can throw something in the grave for some synergies like Gutter Bones. I think I'm going to take Captain Lannery. Glorybringer is an odd mana cost. Get in here. Get in here, Glorybringer. My friend. This card's incredibly good. Weaponize the monsters would make a lot of sense in this deck, but Glorybringer's just so good. So we take that. We hope to wheel Weaponize, Grim Initiate, or Demonic Embrace. Those would all be great. Even Mecha Godzilla would be fine, but Mecha Godzilla is colorless, so not super likely to wheel that one. Got 3 mana instant, destroy a creature. Or 2 mana sorcery, destroy a creature or enchantment and lose a bunch of life. Or we got Anax. Probably Anax here. Gives us a lot of satyrs. I do like the Mythos though. Obviously we're not in green or white, so this is just 3 mana instant, destroy a non-land creature. But that's pretty good. Firebrand or Light Up the Stage. Both of those are super playable in here. How many 1 mana creatures do I have? My curve is so weird because of Obosh. It does look pretty cheap and pretty aggressive though, so I think we can pick up the Light Up the Stage. Got 4 or 5 1 mana creatures already. Let's get a little bit of the draw spells. Ooh, and a Dread Wanderer, another card that's going to keep coming back from the grave. It's that or the Temple of Malice, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense. We are black-red, but Dread Wanderer is just cool. Archfiend's Vessel's kind of cool, too, but I don't have a lot of returning things from the grave in here. Sweltering Sun's Wield. Not that we're going to want to play it, but that's the only thing... It's the only odd mana cost that's in our colors, so let's throw that in the sideboard, I guess. Castle Embereth Wield, hey, not bad at all. Everything else in this pack is an even mana cost, so I don't want anything to do with it. And we got even mana costs and a crash through. I'm going to take the land. We got both of the castles in our colors, very cool. And we got Gravebreaker Lamia. It is playable. Weaponize the monsters did wheel as well as Grim Initiate. I think I'm going to take the Weaponize here. All right. Well, we're red-black sacrifice with Obosh as our companion. This is interesting. So it looks like both of our flip cards, or not our flip cards, but our split cards are legal with Obosh as your companion, so that's good. That's good. So right now, get these planes out of here. What is this nonsense? I might even cut Integrity Intervention, because most of the time this is just going to be a +2/+2 little pump spell. Just mostly meaningless. We do have the one random Inspiring Vantage. I guess we have that for Golos too, which is cute. Yeah, Golos seems a little, like, doesn't make a lot of sense here. So let's get rid of Golos, Integrity Intervention. I'm not going to get rid of Exquisite Blood. It's so dumb in this deck. It doesn't even make any sense. But we have Veto, Thorn of the Duskrows. If we get Veto and Exquisite Bloods on the field, listen, this is my last cube draft before Guilds of Ravnica's back, and I expect to draft primarily Guilds of Ravnica for a while when that does. As the last cube draft, we're gonna go out with a stupid bang. That's what drafting Obosh is kind of all about here. We're gonna draft a companion cube, and then yeah, here's just another dumb thing. Whenever an opponent loses life, we gain that much life, and whenever we gain life, our opponent loses that much life. So we've got the infinite combo to just destroy our opponent if we manage to play Veto and Exquisite Blood, and they don't kill Veto in response. That's just a thing we can do. And so I'm going to leave it in. Even though Exquisite Blood does almost nothing if we don't draw Veto, we have very few other life gain cards, but there's a couple. And what matters is the spirit. All right, I need to cut 3 more cards. I'm going to cut this Inspiring Vantage and actually probably just stick with the like 15 lands or whatever. Let's see, 9 plus 7, that's 16, plus an Agadeem's Awakening. That seems fine. Cut 2 more cards. I could cut Stitcher's Supplier. I don't really have anything that cares about the cards in my graveyard, do I? I don't believe I do. I do not. So we will cut Stitcher's Supplier. But I'm going to leave in the Gravebreaker because I need a couple random 5 drops. I guess I have a 5-mana 4/4 lifelink. That's the whole story. I guess it throws Phoenix of Ash into the grave, so that's okay. That is my one graveyard synergistic card. Ooh, this is a deck. This is a strategy and a half. Let me sort by my creatures and non-creatures here. See how much I have to activate our Gitu Lava Runner, give it haste. We need 2 or more instants and sorceries in our graveyard. I've got like 4? I have 4 instants and sorceries in the whole deck, so the Lava Runner is not even that great, but I do want 1-drops. Yeah, that's most of the time just a 1-mana 1/2 that doesn't do anything, does it? It's something to sacrifice to our Witch's Cauldron or our Weaponize. Captain Lannery Storm is actually pretty fantastic at triggering Revolt for Vengeful Rebel. It's probably our best way to do that, just to get a treasure token. Don't mind if I do. Yeah, I'm looking at the deck, and it looks like the weakest card out of this entire pile is Exquisite Blood and Veto, but really, Gitu Lava Runner out of the ones that I am okay with cutting. So we'll cut a Lava Runner and run it like so. I'm going to leave the Parallax style on Obosh because it kind of makes sense. It's the only one with the style on it, with the Parallax style on it. So I'm okay with that because it's not like sitting in my hand all the time. It's sitting in the side. It's chilling in the command zone. All right, I have no idea here. This is an interesting deck for sure. My first time playing a companion in the cube. And my first time on Rakdos Sacrifice. I have tried like Mono Black Sacrifice before, and that was fun. We'll see how well it does this time around. I will keep the 7. And kind of get off the ground running, try to Gutter Bones into light up the stage. Opponent starts off with a Castle Ardenvale. In the late game, they can use that as a mana sink, creating 1/1 humans to chump block stuff. Or even to eventually kill me with. That was a win condition in Azorius control decks in Standard. Just, I'm eventually going to get you with my 1/1 tokens. Alright, send in the Gutter Bones so I can light up the stage for 1 mana here and see what we draw off of it. As long as we don't hit a 5-drop, I'm happy. Even if we hit 2 3-drops, I'll just choose which one I want to play next turn. Lannery Storm in a swamp, that's pretty perfect. Next turn I'll obviously just swamp into Lannery Storm. I'm going to hold up my mana here. I don't really want to just cast Foulmire Knight as a 1/1 Death Touch. I'd rather wait on it, hold up a Fatal Push, and have the ability to draw the card off of Foulmire Knight with Profane Insight. Opponent is on Jeskai. There's a Clifftop Retreat now. Going to my turn. Swamp, Lannery. They've got 2 mana up here. They could Essence Scatter. That'd be sad. Censor it is. Annoying, but I'll deal with it. I'm going to turn the game audio down a little bit. It's a little much to me right now. All right. Kind of want to just put Obosh in hand and play like 1 card here. But then again, like Gutter Bones and Dread Wanderer, they're not even really committing to the board because I can recast them from the grave. So in that case, do I just play Dread Wanderer and grab Obosh? Alternatively, like as I said before, I'm not in that big of a world of hurt if I lose, like if they wrath my whole board, even if I play Scorched Spitter and stuff. I think I'm definitely going to play Dread Wanderer. I know that much for sure. Down to 14. Yeah, let's grab Obosh. Grab our friend the Prey Piercer. See what they do now. Hieroglyphic Illumination to draw 2 cards. Cleansing Nova, okay. So I'm glad I played the way I did, because I played really well around like a rat. That was really non-committal. Because these creatures are just going to come back later anyway. Do have the 5 mana for Obosh, but I think I'll use Foulmire Knight's ability first. See what I draw into. If nothing, I guess, yeah, just play Scorched Spitter in the night. Get some creatures on the board after that Wrath. All right, hey, there's 1/2 of my combo. Ooh, with no life gain in hand. All right, there's a mountain. I think I just send in so I can use Gutter Bones ability. I could play Obosh here, but I mean, they've got 6 mana untapped and they haven't done anything. There's no way they're not holding up something. Playing Obosh here would, if they had absolutely nothing, I get to hit them for 6 here, which is still not even that big, so we're okay to miss out on Obosh to make sure we get some value. Get our Gutter Bones out. Maybe, that's kind of weird, I'm more stuck on black mana than I thought I would be. Oh, I let the auto tapper do its thing, that's why. It spent double black to put that back in my hand. It should have spent black red so I could hold up Fatal Push here. I just like defaulted in my mind. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a black up here. Not if I let the auto tapper do what it wants to do. Vengeful Rebel. I don't have any sack outlets right now, and they don't have any creatures on the field anyway, so that's kind of whatever. They have a lot of mana up. I think I'm just going to Scorch Spitter and Vengeful Rebel here, though. We'll just attack. I don't see any world in which they don't have a counter just chilling, waiting for Obosh. Because yeah, we're getting to that point where Obosh is going to be lethal. All right, well, I didn't need to hold up Fatal Push last turn anyway. They didn't put a creature out. So it's all good. Now I will just hold Fatal Push up this turn, because they might actually cast that Hypnotic Sprite. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, that's fine with me. They're going to mill themselves and draw a card. Mill a Torrential Gearhulk and an Elspeth Conquers Death. Their deck seems pretty sick. Oh, those are like the best two cards I've seen so far out of their deck. They just milled two absolute bangers. Ooh, Bone Crusher Giant. If I cast Obosh, I've got 3 mana up. I have enough for Fatal Push and Bone Crusher. If I don't cast Obosh, I'm not really doing anything else. All right, show me the counter spell that you've been holding all game. Nothing? What? Are you just dead? Plot twist, you're just dead? Question mark? Oh, Settle the Wreckage? Could snipe my own creatures here so that they go to my grave. That's actually interesting if I want to Fatal Push my own Gutter Bones or not. I don't think so. I think I kind of want to hold Fatal Push up to use on Hypnotic Sprite so that I can kill that with this and still Bone Crusher their face for a couple damage. I am going to take all of the lands off of this. So, oh, this is so weird. So the Adventure, I don't know if the Adventure does double damage or not, because I'm casting the Adventure for only 2, so I'm casting it for an even mana cost, but it says you may cast this card as an Adventure, and this card is Bone Crusher Giant, right? Which is a 3 CMC card, technically. This is like a card within a card thing. I don't know. I don't know at all. We'll find out this game. We'll find out these little rule shenanigans. I'm sure people already know, because I think Bone Crusher and Obosh were definitely used in the same deck in Standard for a while. All right, Hypnotic Sprite, hello. Go to my turn. Let's Fatal Push the Sprite. I feel like if I knew for sure that this does 4 damage, I might want to just do it to their face, but I also want to get the blocker out of the way, so this is fine. Let's shoot it at the Surveyor and see how much damage it does. It did 2. Okay, so it counts as an even. Because that's what I'm casting it for, I guess. Alright. Attack with Obosh. They don't have enough to make a 1/1. They do have a seal away for Obosh, though. Unfortunate. My opponent's not going to expect this one. Exquisite Blood. Yeah, that's right. Don't ask. Just don't ask, opponent. Alright, Dreadwanderer and Bone Crusher Giant are on the board. Opponent is still at 8. See if I can accomplish anything here. They're still going to be drawing extra cards every turn thanks to Jace. They're at 10 cards in their library. They must have a Thassa's Oracle they're trying to win with. Self-mill here. Or who am I kidding? Jace can technically win by himself, but that's real risky. I don't know if I would try to be winning off Jace as my opponent because he's only got 7 loyalty. Well, no, this is probably fine because either way, like I hit them for 8 or I hit Jace for 8. It's whatever. So I hit him for 6 here. I actually hit him for lethal if they don't have anything. Oh. Oh, hey. Okay. Well, forget everything. Forget all that about being worried about Jace and all that. I was starting to get scared. I was like, what do they have? Thassa's Oracle? I totally forgot that all of the War of the Spark Planeswalkers have static abilities. Jace's static ability makes it so if you draw a card from an empty library, you win the game while Jace is on the field. So I guess they were just trying to hit that ultimate, probably. But that would be an instance where I'd love to have a Murderous Rider in that deck so I could like kill him in response. That'd be cool. All right, well, that was a win. That didn't really feel like a win, though. I don't feel like our deck like performed to any particular level. I think our opponent's deck just did not. Definitely some slower draws from them. All right. Another weird looking hand, but I'll keep it. Witch's Cauldron with NX might be fun. And an Axe into Obosh could potentially be a boatload of damage if I can clear the way somehow. Opponent does have to mulligan. So down to 6 cards in hand, at least. I don't know what is going on with Arena. Look at this. The whole side of the screen is just going crazy. So let's start out with a Scorch Spitter, get maximum damage out of our turns. Opponent does start with a Rogran Triome. If our opponent is on a multicolored deck and they stumble a bit in the early turns off of that mulligan, that would be very good for us. They played a blue-red-white land into a swamp, so that seems to be what's happening. So I'm very excited about this game. Because if our opponent doesn't get some blockers out pretty quickly, Anax and Obosh might take over with a huge kind of swing. 3 mana. They do have the Epic Downfall to exile Anax. That's real unfortunate. Pretty much the perfect removal there. Being able to exile him. So I can throw a Vengeful Rebel down on this board, or I can throw Obosh into my hand. I can't cast Obosh next turn if I don't throw him in hand right now. I don't know what's actually better here. I think I'm gonna throw him in hand because that also makes it so I might get value out of the Revolt trigger from Rebel next turn. We'll see what happens here. Opponent is down to 14. There's another swamp. And a Never. This is the weirdest 5-color deck I've seen so far. I guess we haven't seen a green source. This is 4-color mono black right now. Ooh, Exquisite Blood. The good old do nothing, back at it again. I kid, but I put it in the deck. It's all on me. Felidar Retreat into Temple of Deceit. So they have every color except green, and they've got a Felidar Retreat. Ouch now. Oh, Bone Crusher Giant is a great draw. I can just shoot that down and get in for 6, and I can just cast Bone Crusher here. Otherwise, I'm holding up Fatal Push. Yeah, I'm just gonna cast Bone Crusher. Bam, 6 damage, they're down to 8. So opponent might go land and return and just get a couple 2/2 blockers. I think I'm in a really good position if that happens, because I do have the Fatal Push to get rid of another blocker, which would allow me to break through for at least 6. They just have Eldest Reborn. So I either hit them for 4 with Bone Crusher or 6 with Obosh. I think Obosh is more important. We'll sack the Bone Crusher. Act of Treason. Oh, if they just had it. If they just had a cat on the board, I could kill them right now. That being said, I think that makes me feel really safe to where I am just handedly gonna win, I think. Drop Vengeful Rebel. Hold up a Fatal Push. And I have an Act of Treason back up next turn as well. We're going to discard this Exquisite Blood because it doesn't do anything. Unfortunately, no veto in hand. Noxious Gearhulk. All right, cute. We're going to Act of Treason the Gearhulk and just have a fun time. They do get to gain 5 life here, but it's not going to be enough because I pushed the 2/2, steal the Gearhulk, and yeah, we're all good. We're all good. I actually could have Witch's Cauldroned that in response to make sure they don't gain the life, which I probably should have done that. I was still on the mindset of Fatal Pushing during their turn, but that was pointless. That was rough on my end. Should have just sacked to Witch's Cauldron. I would have enough mana to Act of Treason and Fatal Push just during my own turn. I didn't have to allow them to gain all that life. Either way, did not matter. Opponent did not have Pact of Negation or any of that kind of stuff. But that is in the cube, and they had double blue. So it is a strictly better play to have sacrificed Obosh. So we would also draw a card just to be extra safe. So that is 2 wins and no losses somehow. I'll keep trying to keep this up as long as I can. I honestly don't know what's going on. I feel like I've been seeing my hands and stuff just being like, this deck looks pretty mediocre. But we're grabbing wins. It's happening. See how long I can keep it up. Opponent has started with a Plains into a Mountain. They are Boros. There's a Danto Vanguard. I like forcing them to just pay 4 life here when I'm on the aggro. Yeah. I'll just Fatal Push to do 4 to your face. The Vanguard does not get tapped when it uses its ability. So this is essentially just turning Fatal Push into an instant speed. 1 mana, do 4 to my opponent. All right. Now, definitely play the land. Don't know if I want a Witch's Cauldron, like pre-combat here, so that I can sacrifice Dread Wanderer if they block and give indestructible, or if I want to just drop Obosh or save up for Profane Insight. I guess I'll cast Witch's Cauldron, and then I just present to my opponent that they don't have good blocks, so I get in 4 damage, put them down to 10. I get in for 6 damage if they try to block an indestructible. So that would just be lovely. Put them down to 8 like immediately. I would be really surprised if my opponent blocks here, but I would be all about that life. All right, no blocks. Down to 10. Oh, yeah, I'll pass the turn. Now I have Witch's Cauldron up if my opponent casts Royal Eruption or Lightning Strike on any of my creatures. Maul of the Skyclaves. Ooh, we're racing. Well, my opponent's already at 10, so I'm fine with this. They could also just not attack, and then they've got a first strike blocker. See, that I'm less fine with. That is not as cool. Yeah, I don't have great attacks. I mean, it doesn't have lifelink, so I guess sending in, I now lose a Coom Hellhound, put him to 8. That still just seems bad in general. I think I just set up for an Obosh play next turn. Death Toucher still does not add anything to this board, so just passing. I feel like I've been relying too heavily on trying to get full value out of the Foulmire Knight by casting Profane Insight. I think this game would be, I mean, well, it just would be even more in our favor if I had just cast this earlier and kept attacking with my little 1/1 Death Toucher. All right, so they send in for 5 in the sky, which means they're going to present some kind of blocker here, I suspect. Seasoned Hallowblade. Okay, so they can discard a card to give it Indestructible. It's whatever. Soulscar Mage is whatever. Well, 1/2 blocker. Bonecrusher Giant is a fine draw. So I can Bonecrusher Giant the Soulscar Mage and just send in. They have to discard a card from hand to save the Hallowblade. And then they basically trade a card in hand for the Hellhound. I could also try to just Bonecrusher Giant the Hallowblade right now. Get them to tap it, and then anything they block is a full trade with, but that's, I mean, I'm getting rid of the same number of creatures that way. But then I could potentially get in with Hellhound without even trading a creature here. And then, of course, there's the play of just dropping Obosh. I don't really like that a whole lot. I mean, if I just drop Obosh attack with everybody, we're just trade there, trade there. Yeah, it seems not so good. Okay, let's get the landfall trigger. I'm going to Bonecrusher the Soulscar. If they have a 1 white mana instant, that's really bad for me, like God's Willing. All right. Send in, I hit him for 2 and make him discard a card. I'm actually glad about this trade because I don't have any more lands in my hand to trigger Hellhound's ability with. Or not this trade, but this block. They discarded Tajik to do that. So basically you just traded my Hellhound for a Tajik, which is absolutely fantastic. Which, obviously we only got to do that because we have our opponent pressured down in terms of life total. Okay, I think I just play Bonecrusher here. That's definitely better than just drawing 1 card off Foulmire Knight. Because that sets up for... Next turn I cast Obosh, Dread Wanderer hits in for 4, and then they're down to 4. If I can find a way to tap the Hallowblade again, I've got pretty huge attacks. Just have to see what we draw into here. And what our opponent plays. Opponent did play a land, which makes me suspect they have a 3 mana card and a 2 mana card, or a 5 mana card here. Because they definitely wouldn't play a land if they didn't need the mana, unless they're just not thinking about it, like I was not last time I had Seasoned Hallowblade. I had like a Seasoned Hallowblade on board, and I'm over here playing like 4 more lands than I needed. It was embarrassing. What do we got here, opponent? They've got an Hourglass. They've got a Rope. That's for sure. But so did I. I've already used mine. I'm at 0. Oh no. Oh no. I'm going to double damage this turn. And just send in. Okay. Well, they know that I have to block. So this kills Bonecrusher. Because if I don't block, I take 16. So yeah, I have to just block here. take 10, go to 5. But if they just have like lightning strike or something, I'm dead. Skewer the critics. Oh, they let that die? That makes me real scared. That makes me feel like the other card in their hand is just lethal. So I need to hold up the mana to Witch's Cauldron here to not die. Because I need to gain a life. Otherwise I'm taking 3 there and 2 more when they cast Injury. That's rough. Yeah, so I definitely can't cast Obosh this turn, or I don't have the mana to gain life. So I think I just attack with Dread Wanderer and just cast Foulmire Knight, because I also can't afford to lose the 1 life. I really wish that I had just cast this Foulmire Knight a century ago this game. That's really putting a hamper on my fun times. So I could sacrifice Dread Wanderer right now so that I can replay it onto this board, but I like holding up Witch's Cauldron to do it instant speed in case they try to injury one of my creatures. Because then I could maybe like counter it in that way. But if my opponent's smart, they'll just injury their own Adanto Vanguard. And that won't matter. We'll see. We'll see. Probably should have just sacked the Wanderer and returned it right now. But this also works if they have 2 removal spells. This helps out as well. Oh, what do I've completely forgot about the +2 power that Vanguard gets on attacks, so I actually just lose no matter what. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. Literally doesn't matter. Would have died either way. Unfortunate. I was just reading Adanto Vanguard's stats at a baseline level. I guess that's a sorcery, so if I draw into something. I did not draw into something. Yeah, and even if I killed all my own creatures, injury can be cast on your own creature. Really rude. That's a rude way to end it. All right, 2 wins and 1 loss. I think. We'll see when the server's ready to play again. Eventually. There we go. Yep, 2 wins and 1 loss. Certainly off to a better record than I expected from this deck, really, to be honest. I mean, it was fun to draft it. It's an interesting thing for sure. I don't feel like the companions. I think the restrictions are just too much for the value that you get out of them, in cube at least. When at least Oboshes, because, yeah, like we had to pass up on like Embercleave and stuff in order to run Obosh. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Oh, it's Conky Donk. All right. Heading into round 4. I'll keep this. This is super weird. We've got our 5 mana cards at the ready. Nothing to spectacle our light up the stage with, but you can still just cast that on turn 3. Be okay with it. Opponent starts off with a Gilded Goose. We have a Phoenix of Ash coming up now. That's pretty cool. Now I get to drop Phoenix on turn 3 and then light up the stage for cheaper later. Actually, Phoenix of Ash into Glorybringer is a pretty intense flying curve. Here comes Lifecrafter's Bestiary from our opponent. So they get to scry 1 at the beginning of their upkeep, and they get to draw a card whenever they cast a creature spell if they spend an additional green to cast it. So our opponent is certainly setting up a lot of huge value plays for the long game. They're setting up to draw quite a few more cards than I will. So we'll definitely try to just outrace them here, I think. There's their third forest. They could be mono green over there. All right, play our castle so we can afford to play Phoenix Vash. I did draw into a Fatal Push, so Fatal Pushing the Goose is an option to keep them from playing a 5-mana card next turn. Because here they get to create a food token and they untap, play a forest, play something. Wildborn Preserver. I'm very surprised they didn't just trade there. I guess they're planning on dumping a bunch of mana into the X mana ability to put counters onto it and make it large enough to block Phoenix of Ash without dying. Luckily, that is a converted mana cost 2 card, no matter how large it gets, so Fatal Push will always be able to kill it, even without Revolt. So that should be pretty helpful. There's a Kazandu Mammoth coming out for our opponent, and they're drawing a card off that. They drew a card off Preserver as well. Pretty big deal. They're just going to attack with Preserver. I guess I don't need to push it yet then. Drew into Judith. I think I'm going to just attack with the Phoenix. If the damage goes through, I get to cast Light Up the Stage for 1. And if I draw garbage off of that, I can play my castle into Judith. If I draw anything decent, I might play that instead. All right, let's light up the stage. I drew garbage, so probably just Judith here. The other option is to hold up Fatal Push or to put Obosh in hand. Yeah, no, it's just going to be Judith. And that seems like the best plan. I actually had a funny game of Commander when Ravnica Legions first came out. I built a Judith the Scourge Diva Commander deck. And it was just like a basic Rakdos sacrifice kind of thing with a lot of tokens to sacrifice. And to get like plus and plus 0 from their abilities and stuff. So at this Commander table, there's a bunch of people I didn't know. This was before COVID, obviously. One of the players was playing a Goblin deck and had just ran out a Kiki-Jiki. And in my Judith deck, I had all these ways to steal my opponent's creatures to sacrifice them. And one of those ways... Well, this is weird. Do they have an instant speed thing for the Preserver here? I guess not. One of those ways was Zealous Conscripts, which is like steal something, untap it, and give it haste. So I Zealous Conscripts their Kiki-Jiki and then just went infinite in Commander, just against random people. It was dumb. But I think of that whenever I see Judith now. I'm like, oh yeah, remember that time I was playing the super casual Judith deck and then infinite comboed everybody on turn 5? With cards that were not even my own. All right, so we're going to send out Glorybringer here, I think. Start chipping away at their creatures. There's an argument for not exerting here, but I don't like it. I enjoy exerting. Killing the mammoth. The reason we'd not want to exert is obviously to keep the pressure on, just keep attacking with Glorybringer as much as possible. That would solidly just put us into a race here of their ground creatures against my flyers. Because then next turn I'd get hit for probably 7, because they would landfall, hit for a 5/5 mammoth and a 2/2 visionary. Put me down to 6. That just feels pretty scary to me. I do have a Grey Merchant of Asphodel coming up, though, so I'll gain some life. I'm not feeling too bad about our chances here, actually. While my opponent has drawn a lot of cards and scryed a lot, they are mono green against two relatively scary flyers. Green does tend to have issues with that. There's a Thragtusk, no reach or flying or anything. So the flyers will remain, however that does gain them 5 life, putting them to 18, and they drew a card off that with the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Not the greatest. So, I've got the mana to give Phoenix of Ash +4 this turn. I could hit him for 6, put him down to 12. Or I could just play Grey Merchant, drain them for 3 life, go up to 14. Got 6 mana, so I don't have enough mana to grab Obosh and cast it next turn. I'm still 2 turns away from that. So if I grab Obosh, all I'm doing is grabbing Obosh, not playing anything else. I guess I hold up a Fatal Push that way. I could also just grab Obosh and pump the Phoenix. Yeah, I don't think Fatal Push is really going to hit anything, so I'm just accepting that I take like 7 here. Sure. That pretty much sets up lethal. They basically have to... They have to deal with my creatures or kill me here. Because if they don't, Obosh is going to double up damage, which is going to mean that I have 12 flying damage if I don't pump the Phoenix. And I guess I don't have enough to pump the Phoenix, so it's not quite lethal, but it's really close. Glorybringer would hit for 8, Phoenix is going to hit for 4, and that's going to be exact lethal, because Questing Beast is the only green creature with haste, and it does exactly 11 to me. So that was cool. They could have had some sort of pump spells, though. That would have been a more standard kind of green way to kill me there, but oh, the absolute salt in the wound of here's literally the only green creature with haste, and it has exactly enough power to exact seize you. Pretty rough. I think I still stand by the play there. Setting up for the next turn Obosh was going to be pretty huge. If we survived. All right. Is this how it ends? Not with a bing, but with a whimper? That's going to be a mulligan for me. I'll keep this one. I do have 3 lands thanks to the Agadeem's Awakening. And I can set aside the Glorybringer for now. I could also set aside a Nax. I feel like that's a little better. Because Glorybringer is just so good. And I only have 1 red in this hand anyway. By the time I draw another red source, I'll already have 4 lands. So I'll only be 1 mana away from Glorybringer by the time I hit my second red. All right. Drop out that Agadeem Awakening first thing. Probably should have actually played the castle first, because I could actually play this untapped for 3 life if I really needed to. Now we're holding up a Stomp off of Bonecrusher Giant. Opponent starts with a Triome into a Plains, so they're on Jeskai so far. Blue, red, white. Also known as Maruka. We do have 5 mana, but we don't have the second red for a Glorybringer yet, which is very sad. Do I want to just play Veto, or do I want to grab Obosh, or do I want to just hardcast a Bonecrusher? I kind of think I want to just grab Obosh. I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on this game, even if I put as much pressure as I possibly can on with this hand. So we'll just play the long route here. Opponent has another Plains. And nothing. Oh my god, I've just drawn another black source, still looking for the red. I'll drop the Veto. If I just draw Exquisite Blood, that'd be absolutely hilarious. the one time. I think if I lose this game, that'll be the end of this draft. So that's the one thing I want to accomplish. Just fingers crossed. Let's draw Exquisite Blood with Veto on the board just one time. I feel as though even if we do, they'll just kill Veto in response. Whenever it happens, there will be no route to victory through the Veto Exquisite Blood combo. Teferi, get out of here.
Nothing else. I will protect. Time to improvise.
There is a Fatal Push. Does not do a lot. I can cast Obosh and hit Teferi for 2. Or I can Bone Crusher Teferi for 2. And I actually have a Glorybringer. I don't have the second red. If I had the second red for Glorybringer, I could just haste out Teferi for 4 damage, which is pretty huge. Yeah, let's just give him something to get scared about. Here's a big old Obosh. You're welcome. And Veto's not going to do that much, so we might as well slow down Teferi.
Wish I knew that was coming. Think fast.
Opponent is drawing and discarding with 8 cards in hand right now. They are in the value. So I think my only real takeaway here is I still definitely want to draw Mountain. Obosh was basically my only play last turn because I only had the 1 red source, so I couldn't have even done what I wanted to do with Bone Crusher, which would have been to stomp and cast a Bone Crusher. I could only do one or the other, because that would require double red to do both. This card is such a good card, it's kind of insane. So you can think of it as like a split kind of fuse card. It's like a Wrath effect, alright. Wrath my 2 dudes. Well, it's not looking so hot. Not like this. I still don't have a second red source. I could drop Foulmire Knight to have, I don't know, just to have a creature on this board, or I can just hold up Stomp still. I mean, I'm against blue-white. I'm just against Azorius control. I don't think Stomp's going to do anything right now. Play the Foulmire Knight out. But it is looking like this is probably going to be the end of this deck's run.
Like seconds are fleeting.
And it's probably going to be a long, drawn-out, sad death as well. So our opponent's basically already won. They have a Teferi out and they're stable at 20 health. With a full grip of spells. And I'm sitting here with a 1/1 out. With no forward momentum here. Not putting any pressure on them. This is exactly where the control decks want to be. kind of funny when Teferi does like think fast, and then it takes like 30 seconds for the ability to resolve. Not trying to throw shade at my opponent, it's just the juxtaposition with Teferi's voice line. No, it's all good. I'm an incredibly slow player myself. There's my second red for Glorybringer, but probably gonna get countered. I think I'm just gonna try to cast it. If it gets countered, I'm just gonna scoop him up. Basically my only out now. If this gets countered, I'm sitting here with a 4-3 Bone Crusher against a Teferi that's like ready to ultimate. I mean, they could also just throw a removal spell at it. So I guess... if it gets removed as well. If they just phase it out, then I might still be in this. Okay. I have the tiniest chance in the world. They don't immediately have the removal for Glorybringer. It's very interesting. That's not what I would expect at all. At this point, they've drawn Lord knows how many cards off Teferi and discarded that many. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5? They've like drawn 5, discarded 5. They've really crafted their hand into whatever they wanted. Is that all non-land permanents? It is all non-land permanents. That's unfortunate. My Cauldron and my Foulmire Knight are going to get popped by the Ratchet Bomb if they want.
Ideas, like seconds, are fleeting.
They're 1 mana away from casting Rumcloak Giant as a creature, however, that's really not necessary for them anytime soon. You don't have to cast that till you're in the super late game and you've got like 10 mana anyway, so you can cast it and still hold up a counterspell. I guess they're down to 17 cards in their library because they've kept using Teferi so much. So, who knows? Mildest chance in the world, maybe they'll mill out. Or maybe they have Thassa's Oracle to kill me by milling out. There's another land. That's enough mana for the Rumcloak Giant if they want to do that. Seven mana up, and they are passing the turn. It's another land for me. We will go to combat. Is Glorybringer dead yet? Alright, they're gonna pop the Ratchet Bomb, which pops my Foulmire Knight. So I may as well sacrifice that and gain a life, draw a card. Sublime Epiphany. To counter my Witch's Cauldron, put that back into my hand and draw a card? That's probably one of the weakest Sublime Epiphanies I've seen get resolved, so I'm happy about that. That could have been way worse. Glorybringer does have haste, so I can just wait to play it till next turn. I could just Bone Crusher the Teferi, make sure it can't like phase things out here. Might as well. The reason for running out Glorybringer immediately would be to play around a counterspell, but a Bone Crusher Giant is basically going to accomplish the same thing unless they cast their Rumcloaked Giant, in which case they'll be tapped out anyway. So Bone Crusher Giant will also be on the field, presenting 4 damage to hit Teferi with. And this way, if they don't have a counterspell, I get to have Bone Crusher and Glorybringer out next turn. when your opponent has no creatures on the field, the flyer is actually not better than a ground creature. They're basically just the same thing right now. Again, it could matter, like if they play Realm Cloak Giant, but then I know they won't be able to counter Glorybringer anyway. They could have like Solemn Simulacrum or something, but they seem like a pretty creature-light control deck. I don't really expect any ground troops coming out here. But you never know. Or at least any ground troops that can't get Fatal Pushed. So our opponent has the full grip, 7 cards in hand, as well as a Realm Cloaked Giant who is on an adventure. So we've got 8 cards to choose from. They have discarded a card to their Teferi's ability. It is a Cleansing Nova, discarded a Wrath effect there. Now they're going to cast Skyclave Apparition on Bone Crusher Giant. This actually works out quite well for me. Fatal Push will be able to kill that, and then I'll have a 3/3 on the board, which is big enough to not quite kill Teferi. Teferi can get another +1 next turn. But yeah, now we're going to my turn. They only have 4 mana up. I can't imagine that's enough for 2 different counter spells. I guess if they censor Fatal Push and have Essence Scatter up, that would be really sad. But I have to imagine they can only afford 1 counter spell within here and next turn, so I get to hit Teferi for at least 3. Yeah, they don't counter that. Oh, and here's a Judith to hit Teferi for 4. I'm going to cast Judith first because I'd rather Judith get countered than Glorybringer. But drawing Judith makes it basically confirmed that Teferi is going to die now. Glorybringer counterspell. There's no instant speed Wrath. I mean, there's Settle the Wreckage, but that costs double white. They don't have double white right now. Yep, so just the counterspell holding it for Glorybringer. Well, Teferi is dead then. We have killed Teferi, and we got him down to 3 cards in hand here?
Like seconds.
What just happened? It was a weird turn of events. I have to remember that my Castle Locthwain has an ability as well. I've probably been in a position where I've had the mana to do that and should have done that.
Looks like I'm
a little out of it right now. Yeah, I feel like I probably had the Castle Locthwain mana at some point. So just drop Realm Cloak, drop a land, sure. Got Gutter Bones here, drop Gutter Bones. I'll use the Locthwain. Got like a real chance now. Now I have Exquisite Blood. Vito's already dead though. This was the game. All right, well that's sad. We're not gonna. There's no reason in the world to attack into that. I might actually have to like double block to kill it. That would feel really bad that I'm left with just a Gutter Bones. Put a card into your opponent's hand, the other will be exiled. I don't really want them to be able to Spark Double their Realm Cloak Giant. That would be a big threat. Same with Spark Doubling Karn. I'll give them Charter Course. I think now we're just hoping our opponent mills themselves. They have 10 cards left in library. They have 8 cards left in their library, actually, after Karn's ability. All right. Screw me over. Let's see how bad this ends up. Show me how bad of a choice this is. Okay, no tricks. I like it. We got the 7/7 off the board. Now, even when they grab their Spark Double with their minus ability, they can't make a 9/9 Vigilance or an 8/8 Vigilance. It only gets 1+1+1 counter. They're down to 6 cards in their library now, 5 cards in hand. I have to assume if they're still drawing at this point with like Charter Course, that they know that they have outs to close out this game very swiftly at this point. So we can't feel too confident here. It's very likely they have a way to win this very soon. Whether that be Jace, Thassa's Oracle, or even just some really fast aggressive creature. Just like a big old angel or something. We're not going to win by damage dealt, so I'm going to just slap Karn to keep them from making artifact creatures. Probably should have tried to cast Exquisite Blood first, just in case of something like Negate. Because the card looks scary. It just isn't scary in my deck. It's got some nasty artwork. So 4 cards in hand and 5 cards in library for our opponents. With Karn, if they plus Karn, they're down to 3 cards in their library. I'm still sitting at 18. So we'll see how they want to close this one out. I would expect like a Jace or Thassa's Oracle. Harmonious Archon might actually be able to kill me fast enough as well. I mean, it definitely will if they don't use any more card draw. But if they use any of that, I might have a chance here. Nope. Opponent is going to spark double that Harmonious Archon. Is there a spark double card? I guess you can get the constructs, 2 constructs a turn. Yeah, opponent's getting real aggressive here. They are scared of milling out now. Now I wish I had like 1 random Ashiok in here. That'd be hilarious. Weaponize the Monsters is really cute with Gutter Bones. That's adorable. Now I could actually do something with Gutter Bones, I guess. I could alternatively draw a card with Locthwain, but I don't really see myself getting out of this, so... Oh, I get to gain life with Exquisite Blood off that too? Oh, look at the combos. That's so cute. Bam. Unfortunately, I can only do that during my turn, so I don't get to like block and do that. Oh, they have Approach as well. Well, that's a win con. That's neat. I do like that Approach of the Second Sun's in here. That's a really, it's a cool win con for the Azorius control kind of decks. So that makes a ton of sense why they were 100% okay getting very low on deck size. Approach of the Second Sun's more powerful the smaller your deck is. So you cast this, then you put it back into your library, 7th from the top, and then the second time you cast it, you just win. So the smaller your library is, the closer it's going to be. If you only have like 1 card in your library, it'll just go right below that. So that's a really cool win condition. Unfortunately, I think I'm 100% guaranteed to die before they cast Approach for the second time. We don't get to see the Approach of the Second Sun win. We're just getting double card.
Some solutions must be built.
It's kind of cute to have the 0/0s be 3/3s with Harmonious Archon's ability. Overall, it doesn't really matter though. I'm super dead. But now I get to do more little chain combos. Ooh, gain some life, do some damage to your face, trigger Revolt for Vengeful Rebel. Kill a human. Bam. Look at that. Heavy combos. So, that is gonna be the end of this draft run. I'm fairly sure. Not a great draft, not a great run, but I was kind of from the get-go doing a little bit of a silly strategy that I wasn't sure how well it would work in the first place. It turns out not particularly well. I wouldn't really recommend drafting the way I did in this video if you were trying to win, but wanted to end off the cube drafts with something a little special, so we got that companion deck going. See how well we could do with it. Still went 2-3. Definitely not the end of the world. No 0-3 run or anything. I didn't get to Exquisite Blood with Veto, though. And that is the biggest loss of the draft. See what our random rares are. We got a Curator of Mysteries from Amonkhet Remastered. Pretty neat. So that is going to end this draft video. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to see more content of Magic Arena, stick around on the channel for more. I will see you all tomorrow for the return of Guilds of Ravnica drafts, the first Guilds of Ravnica Premier drafts on Magic Arena. So very looking forward to that, and I'll see you then.